Welcome aboard Skylark Outdoors here, and today we are reviewing the Beneteau Flyer 10, which we've got right here. This is next to the Beneteau Space Deck Flyer 9, which we have right next to it on the right side. So this one's outfitted with twin 300 horsepower Mercuries, and as we step on the aft here, you can see we've got ample seating in a bench configuration that goes in an L, and then you walk in, you've got a cooler ahead of you. You've got a little cook station there and a drink station, as well as water, fresh water, so you can do some dishes, fill up what you ever need to with water there. And then you can see this seating is really nice. You could put probably 5 or 6 people there, and you could just also lay out. Now, I like that they have these covers on this, so when not in use, you fold that down, and you're going to have a nice, clean area there that's flat. You've got 2 seats here for the helm, so you've got a seat for 2 people there, and then probably 2 people on the left here. And then you can walk to the forwards of the boat, the bow, and we have this beautiful sun deck here with 3 chairs and armrests and 4 drink holders. So plenty of cup holders there to do whatever you need to do, some speakers, and then you've got your windlass and anchor up here. This thing is laid out beautifully, and you can see how much larger it is than the Beneteau Flyer 9 Space Deck, which this boat is 34 feet 10 inches. The Flyer 9 is 29 feet 10 inches. And as we walk to the back here, you can see you've got that closing window here, and you can go down inside this boat here and take a look and see what else is going on. So you've got a full berth up here in the front, and you could also put a table there if you want to eat or do whatever you want to do down here. And then you do have a head and a little galley down here as well. So here's the full head. You've got a separate shower space there. Sorry, that really is hard for me to say. I don't know, tongue twister. And then you've got a little like quarter berth right here. So you could fit another person if you needed to, but really just the main berth up front and then that quarter berth. And I love the layout of this for what you can do while you are out on the water here. You've got a boat that is going to be very low draft for its size, 2'7", but you have a lot of the accoutrements of a larger boat on this with the full berth in the front and the nice seating that you've got here. And that's mostly likely because we've got a really large beam here. We've got a 10-foot 12-inch beam. That's direct from their website. It doesn't maybe translate because it is 3.35 meters and 10 foot 12 inches would mean that this is an 11-foot beam, but we'll see if Beneteau gets that corrected on their website in the future. But you can definitely tell this is a beamy boat, and one of the things I like about this boat is that you're going to have a nice helm station here. You're going to have that forward berth, but I just love how open it is, and I really like that front area for laying out. You can see on this one they've got the joystick controls in addition to the dual throttle controls. Something you can do with twin Mercury outboards anymore. All kinds of different control options. But this is probably my favorite part of the boat. So this makes it feel like a larger boat, I feel like. You've got a nice laydown area up here. And I actually like this little walk around space, so it's easy to access the front of the boat and get in and out of these chairs, as well as in rough seas. What you're going to find is it's nice to be down a little bit lower in that walking path than if you're just up on the front of, let's say, a cabin cruiser. Older style cabin cruisers would have had just basically those cushions up there in the front, and then you would have been kind of standing on top of the boat, and then you only have like a 1.5 to 20 inches of rail. And in heavy seas, it's easy to be up there, and somebody could take a spill and potentially fall out. With this configuration, it does feel a lot more stable to be a little bit further down. Now, in terms of what you're getting with this boat compared to the Flyer 9, you get a longer boat, you're going to get a wider boat. That means that this should handle weather even better. You can also power this up more. It does have more weight. So this has a 700 horsepower max rating. On this particular one, they had 2 300 horsepower Mercs, a total of 600 horsepower, but you can go all the way up to 700. It weighs 12,536 pounds, Has a 212-gallon capacity, 2'7" draft, and is 34 feet 10 inches long. Now, this definitely does have the capacity to go on a long cruise with this, and then with the outboard engines, you're typically going to be more fuel efficient than inboards anymore, and you are going to save yourself a little weight usually with the outboard engines, as well as easier maintenance. So I like that boats this size, they call this a sport cruiser, but it really is kind of like a cabin cruiser boat, that they have outboards. They just are easier to maintain, in my opinion, over the long term. If you're on the Great Lakes or you're on freshwater, not as big of a deal outboard versus inboard. But if you're on the ocean, having outboards, being able to prop those up, being able to flush them out after each use is going to give you so much more longevity out of the engines, as well as servicing the engines is going to be a lot easier because everything is right there. So when you haul this out, nobody has to get down in a stinky, small, tiny bilge and do work on the engines. You've got plenty of space to do that work in the rear of the boat. This picture of the rear berth does not do it justice. It makes it look more like a closet than the rear berth it is. If you look on the website, they've got pictures that show that, but it is a full berth underneath there, and you can see that window right there. That window is going to add some light there, as well as it kind of pops back up, so there's more space back there. You're not going to be standing up back in that rear berth, but you definitely can fit 2 people, so you could fit 4 people on this boat. This boat definitely would get small after a period of time, 2 or 3 days with 4 people on it, but you could definitely have 2 people on here pretty comfortably, and then use that back berth for storage, provisions, whatever you needed. And I think you could probably go on a week or 2 on this and feel pretty comfortable in terms of the accommodations. I love that they have this grill outside and the refrigerator, ice maker there, so that you can grill and do everything you need to outside. And you're on a boat, you want to be outside. Now, one thing to note about this is that you can get these without the T-top. I like the top on this, the hard top. I like that it adds structure. You could always add some rod holders there. You can add whatever you want, some cup holders, but it also gives you permanent shade. I guess it just really depends on your configuration for if you're going to tow this somewhere, but at 10 foot 12, this is definitely quite the large boat to tow, and 12,000 pounds. You're going to need a big vehicle to tow this, but maybe you've got a storage accommodation where you don't want to have the hard top. I personally think the hard top on this makes it look cleaner, makes it look nice, gives you that permanent shade, and that is the way I would go if I was getting the Flyer 10. So you've got the 2 berths, you've got the nice helm station. This is a great day boat that allows you to have a lot of passengers, like a cabin cruiser. Has a nice open feeling to it, but some shade as well. And you can see you can actually extend, there's a little shade canopy there in the back. You could extend that to get more shade all the way over your rear passengers. But what I love, if you've been on a boat this style before, that front area, if you're going to like a sandbar or something like that, nothing beats a nice big, I guess, couch chair like you've got on this, where you can just lay out, soak up the sun, have a great day out on the water. And I think that's probably the key component of this. You've got a nice entertaining boat. This is less of a multi-purpose boat, as I would say the Flyer 9, but in terms of what you're getting, if you want to go out and cruise, you want to be able to have dinner out here, you want to be able to stay overnight, you're probably going to be more comfortable on this than you would on the Flyer 9. But I really do like the Flyer 9 because of the weight for that boat, the size of the boat, and what it fits in that small package. This is just, everything's a little bit bigger, everything's a little bit more, I would say, comfortable for a longer trip. But for day boating, they're going to be very similar, but also for entertaining. This does feel like a great boat for entertaining, and it's kind of the modern take on what a cabin cruiser is. Typically, cabin cruiser would have larger berth areas, but what it seems like manufacturers have done is go away from the larger berth areas and go to having more open layouts and more comfort on deck. and more interaction with people on the deck. And if you've owned a cabin cruiser before or been on a cabin cruiser, what I think a lot of people think about a cabin cruiser is that they're going to like travel every night and they're going to stay on it overnight. The percentage of people that do that is very low. And then the percentage of people when you own one, that's maybe 5 to 10% of your time on the boat. Most of the time when you're going on the boat, you're going to go with you, maybe one other person, or you're going to go with you, your friends, and your family. And you're not going to stay overnight. You're going to go out for somewhere between 2 to 4 hours. If it's a long day, 8 hours, that's great. I always love to stay out and boat as much as possible. If it was me, I'd stay out from dawn till dusk and then some. But you also have passengers with you and they have other things going on, and not everybody likes to stay out on the water 24 hours a day. However, what you'll find is that you're spending most of your time on the deck of the boat, and very little bit of time is spent underneath the boat. And usually you're just sleeping there if you're going to do it for a night or two at dock. And I think that the manufacturers go into more of this day boat trend where you're sacrificing a little bit of cabin space underneath for the accoutrements of walking around and making it more comfortable for the daily activities that you have is a good trend overall, because that seems to be how most people use their boats more of the time. Now, you could go still get a pure cabin cruiser, but I tend to think that these are really nice. And then the other trend that I like is I love the outboard engines on boats this size, just in terms of maintenance, winterization, if you need it, cleaning them, annual maintenance, whatever you need to do, impeller wise, changing gear oil, oil changes. Everything is so much easier than an outboard. If you have ever been in an older style cabin cruiser, and I'm not even talking that old, probably like 2000, let's just say 2015. They exist even now in 2023. And you've been down in the bilge and you need to do something like a water pump. Usually it's very cramped to get down in there. If you've got issue with a gear oil leak, or you've got something with hydraulics, typically everything is so cramped in there. Or a starter. That is the worst in cabin cruisers with inboard engines. Trying to get a starter out, you need somebody that is super flexible and tiny to get in there and do bolts and undo bolts. In most cases, they're just laid out in a way that doing any kind of engine maintenance is almost impossible on them, other than like oil changes and very basic stuff. So if something goes bad, a lot of times you got to pull the engine out, which is going to add cost, time, money in order to do whatever you need to maintain it. And if you've got twin engines down there, it's even worse. It's even more cramped. And if you add a generator down there, even more cramped. And then if you've got trim tabs or anything else, that's going to add more hydraulic pumps. And all of a sudden, you can barely get in there and do whatever you need. And the bilges, they always just get nasty because they're hard to clean. A little bit of oil or something gets down in there, and it is hard to get it out because there's just so many nooks and crannies that you can't even get to. And with this, you're essentially eliminating that nasty bilge and rough to or hard to clean area because you've got outboards. So when looking at a new boat, my preference always is going to be outboards. I think there's so many advantages of them over the disadvantages of them when comparing to an inboard. Now, if you're looking at a used boat, that's a whole different consideration. Typically, inboards are going to be less expensive, but my go-to for purchasing a new boat, and I think it's going to last you the test of time, as well as your maintenance bill is going to be lower over the long term, is go with outboards. So thanks for watching this review of the Beneteau Flyer 10. Hope you enjoyed this. Please give us that thumbs up, subscribe, and click any of the links below if you want to learn how to be a better boater. Click down below. We've got a course for that, as well as we've got a other couple cool things that you might be interested related to the outdoors. Do you like to ski? Great, take a look at that. Have you ever heard of a Petoskey stone? Take a look at that below down in the description. We've got all kinds of great links there, and that does help support this channel so we can bring you great content in the future. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.